Unfortunately, in our pursuit of globalization, profit, economic development, we have failed the environment. We have failed our earth. And the people who bear the brunt of these failures are the low-lying island nations, such as Maldives and Kiribati. It's really unfortunate that I stand before you to say, no, we can't save the low-lying island nations from rising sea levels for 3 reasons. Number 1, because of the mindset of the world towards climate change. Number 2, why it takes only one country to ruin the prospect of the saving of low-lying island nations. And number 3, why the problems and the context of these nations themselves means it's a hard fight to win. Firstly, before I go to my argument, some brief context. The island nations that I'll be talking about in this speech are island nations such as Maldives, such as Kiribati, which are already on the path to sinking because of all of the human activities that has transpired in history. First argument, why the mindset of the world regarding climate change is the reason why we cannot save low-lying island nations. As a society, we look at the short term. We don't care about the prospects of saving the earth in the long term if it means that we don't get economic development in the short term. The good example I can give to this is the United States of America, which recently pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. Not only that, as though we don't know that climate change is not a real problem, most countries are still on the trajectory of increasing their economic projects which releases carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere. The New York Times states in a report 2 days ago that climate project will rise sea levels to as much as 6 feet in this decade, this century alone, which threatens to put Kiribati under the water. This proves that despite the fact that a lot of us know the harms of climate change, the mindset that we have is still focusing on the short-term pleasures that we get at the expense of the environment, at the expense of our earth, at the expense of low-lying island nations such as Maldives and Kiribati. And don't even get me started on a huge wave of people who don't even believe climate change is a real thing. Not to mention, one of them is apparently the leader of the free world in this history, ladies and gentlemen. The second argument is why it takes only one nation to ruin the prospect. The unique thing about the environment and about the 196 countries that exist in this world is that we all share one atmosphere. So even if your country practices environmentally friendly policy, the emissions from another country would destroy your environment too. This is evident, for example, when Indonesia burns their forests, Malaysia becomes victim of the haze. Why does that mean that we cannot save low-lying island nations? Because the biggest polluters in our world, China and the United States of America, are going to continue to expand production, which sends carbon dioxide emissions skyrocketing when it comes to numbers. CNN recently published that with the recent acquiring of the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, China wants to expand its mass production and export using their cheap production tactic, which involves a lot of damage to the environment. This means that even if Scandinavian countries practice environmentally good policies, even if Maldives and Kiribati cares about the environmental policies, the fact that we have China, the fact that we have the United States of America means that it still tarnishes the atmosphere, and these countries bear the brunt of all these issues. Third argument, the problems and the context of these nations. Maldives, despite the fact that they face possibly sinking under the ocean, is chaotic when it comes to the political scenario in their country. Recently, President Abdullah Yamin declared a 15-day crisis. The Supreme Court overturned terrorism convictions, and the president arrested Supreme Court judges and former presidents. This itself shows that they care more about their politics in the short term rather than the environment. But even if they still cared about the environment, the fact that they are focusing on the political problems in their country means that there is a lack of unity in bringing their plight of their extinction on the international scale. Because now, when they go to the international scale, or in the international arena, all they talk about is trying to solve the political problem. They don't talk about saving our island nation from sinking. But another example I would give is the island of Kiribati. The reason why the island of Kiribati faces a very unique problem is because the people of Kiribati share a very intimate and spiritual connection with the land, with the environment, with all the prospects of skies and lands and the air that exists in their country. Why does this mean that we cannot save them? Because most of the policies that we have decided that can save, for example, things like climate engineering that can alter the environment, that can alter the skies, things like cloud seeding, which will change how your sky looks and affects the land. All these things are things that they don't agree upon because they think that their spiritual connection with the land is far more important. They'd rather die rather than having their land, which they worship, which they think is the most important thing in their life, get destroyed, ladies and gentlemen. This proves that even if all the countries united and wanted to save them, the very fact that there's chaos and there's the country that not wanting this policy itself shows that we cannot solve this problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I've outlined three things. Firstly, we don't seem to care about climate change. Secondly, even if majority care about climate change, there's always that one country. You know what country? China. And thirdly, even if miraculously all 196 countries seems to care, the chaos in Maldives and the connection of the people in Kiribati means that we cannot employ policies that could save their land. It's very unfortunate that I have to say this, but we cannot save them anymore. Thank you.